Have you ever been jolted awake in the middle of the night by a sudden cramp in your calf? That sharp, twisting pain that forces you to sit up, frozen, waiting for it to pass. Anyone who has experienced it knows it's not just a passing discomfort. It's a signal that something inside your body is out of balance. And more often than not, the root cause is surprisingly simple. A lack of vitamin D. The human body functions through an intricate web of balance. Among billions of cells, muscles, and nerves, there exists an invisible symphony we call movement. A steady step, a gentle sit, even the act of rising from bed each morning. These are the result of countless biological signals firing all at once. At the center of this quiet orchestra is vitamin D, acting as the unseen conductor, harmonizing the connection between bones, muscles, and your nervous system. Vitamin D is not just a vitamin, it's a key that unlocks the door for calcium, a vital mineral, to be absorbed into your bloodstream and delivered to your bones and muscles. Without vitamin D, that door remains shut. Calcium can't get in, and when your muscles don't receive enough calcium, the delicate process of contraction and relaxation breaks down. The result: unpredictable muscle cramps, often striking when you least expect it during sleep. When your body is meant to rest and recover, many older adults complain that their legs cramp up at night, interrupting sleep and leaving them fatigued the next day. Most assume it's just part of aging. But often, it's not age, it's a nutritional deficiency. When vitamin D is lacking, your muscles don't just feel weak, they get confused. They can't tell when to contract or relax. That confusion triggers cramping, spasms, and those painful wake-up calls you've come to dread. Think of vitamin D as the sunlight inside your body. When it's present in healthy amounts, your systems flow smoothly. When it's absent, darkness creeps in, interrupting even the most basic movements like walking or standing. This isn't simply a matter of getting older. It's your body missing something essential. But vitamin D doesn't just help you absorb calcium. It also helps your nerves communicate with your muscles. It strengthens the electrical signals that travel from your brain, down your spine, into your legs and feet. These signals tell your muscles how to respond, how to move, when to stop, how to keep you balanced. When vitamin D is low, those signals become garbled. Your body hesitates. Your muscles misfire. And you're more likely to fall, trip, or cramp up without warning. I remember one of my patients, a woman in her 60s, who told me she dreaded going to bed. Nearly every night, her legs would seize with painful cramps. She had tried stretching, drinking more water, even massage, but nothing worked. After running a few simple blood tests, we discovered her vitamin D levels were significantly low. We started her on a liquid vitamin D supplement and encouraged her to sit in the morning sun for just 15 minutes a day. Within 3 weeks, the cramps were gone. She was sleeping peacefully again and smiling brighter than she had in months. This is not an isolated case. It's incredibly common. And the beautiful truth is, sometimes, the path to healing is not complicated. Sometimes, it's simply about restoring what your body is quietly asking for. But to do that, you have to change your mindset. Many people have accepted leg cramps, muscle weakness, and imbalance as normal signs of aging. But they're not. They're signs of nutritional imbalance, of your body whispering that it needs a little more care. You can start today. Step outside in the early morning. Let the gentle sunlight touch your skin. Add more vitamin D-rich foods to your meal: salmon, egg yolks, mushrooms, fortified dairy. If you can't be outside often or you wear strong sunscreen daily, consider asking your doctor about a supplement. A simple blood test can check your levels and offer a clear path forward. What makes vitamin D so remarkable is not just how it stops cramps. It gives you something even more valuable: confidence. Confidence that your legs will hold you steady, that you can walk a little farther, stand a little taller, rise from a chair without struggling. These aren't small things. They're the foundation of independence, of freedom, of joy in everyday life. And when you start to feel that change, that subtle shift in strength, in stability, in how your body moves, you realize something powerful. Strength doesn't just live in your muscles, It lives in your choices. It lives in how you nourish yourself, in how you listen to your body before it screams, in how you choose to act now, rather than wait for things to get worse. Vitamin D may not be a miracle, but when you give your body the light it's been missing, both literally and biologically, it responds. Your muscles soften. Your steps become smoother. Your nights become calmer, and a sense of control returns. So let this be your reminder. You are not too old to feel strong again. You are not too late to support your muscles, your bones, your balance. Vitamin D is not just a nutrient, it's a bridge between what you feel today and what you want to feel tomorrow. Let it carry you there. There is a rhythm to your body, one that you may not always hear, but it is there, constant, dependable, essential. It hums through your bones, pulses in your blood, and flows through every movement your muscles make. This rhythm doesn't come from strength alone, but from balance. And at the core of this inner harmony lies calcium, not just the kind you think of when someone says strong bones, but a deeper presence, a conductor that keeps the symphony of your muscle contractions flowing in a calm, measured tempo. You might be surprised to know that when your muscles contract and release, what's really happening is a series of invisible conversations between calcium ions and muscle fibers. These tiny particles act like messengers, stepping in right on cue to help your muscle fibers grip and then let go. Every step you take, every time you lift a grocery bag, or reach to pull open a door, calcium is right there, initiating each motion and guiding it to completion. Without enough calcium, the conversation breaks down. Muscles start to misfire. They contract too hard, hold on too long, and forget how to relax. That's when cramps strike suddenly, painfully, sometimes in the middle of the night when your body is supposed to be healing. When people think of calcium, they think of bones. But bones, though vital, are just one piece of the story. Muscle function is where calcium quietly reveals its brilliance. Imagine walking for a few blocks and suddenly feeling your calf tighten in protest, or lying down at night only to be yanked awake by a stabbing pain that shoots through your leg. These aren't just coincidences. These are your muscles crying out for support, and more often than not, calcium is what they're missing. There was a patient I once worked with, a 70-year-old woman who had grown used to suffering. She didn't even call it pain anymore, just a nightly routine of being jolted awake by cramps so intense, she'd have to stand up and pace her bedroom just to get them to ease. She'd been drinking water. She'd been stretching. Nothing helped. But a simple blood test told us what her body had known all along. She was calcium deficient. We started her on a daily calcium supplement and paired it with vitamin D to help her absorb it properly. Within weeks, the cramps eased. The pacing stopped. Her nights became peaceful again. And with that peace came a restored sense of trust in her body. You see, calcium is more than a number on a lab result. It is your connection to stability, your anchor in the chaos of daily life. When it's missing, you may not notice right away. It doesn't scream. It whispers through the way your legs feel heavier after walking, through the stiffness that takes longer and longer to loosen in the morning, through the subtle feeling that something, somehow, just isn't flowing the way it used to. As we age, our ability to store and utilize calcium diminishes. Hormonal changes, reduced dietary intake, and less physical activity all contribute to this slow erosion. The bones become more porous, the muscles become more reactive, and in the spaces where once there was fluid motion, now there is hesitation. That's why replenishing calcium isn't just about preventing fractures, it's about reviving fluidity, grace, and strength in every action you take. The beauty of calcium is that it's accessible. You don't need exotic supplements or complicated routines. You just need to invite it into your meals. A bowl of yogurt in the morning, a few slices of cheese with lunch, leafy greens tossed into dinner. Even plant-based options like tofu or calcium-fortified almond milk can make a difference. The point isn't to overload yourself, but to be consistent to. Nourish your body like you would tend a garden, steadily, patiently, with care. But food isn't always enough, especially when absorption becomes an issue. That's where smart supplementation steps in. A properly balanced calcium supplement, ideally one taken alongside vitamin D, can act as a gentle push in the right direction. It's not about taking more than you need, but about giving your body exactly what it's asking for and doing it before the deficiency becomes a full-blown problem. Still, nutrition alone won't work in isolation. Calcium needs motion. Your bones and muscles are living tissues that respond to movement. Like plants, respond to sunlight. Without weight-bearing activity, even something as simple as walking or lifting light weights, calcium won't know where to go. It won't strengthen your legs or support your spine unless you show it what those muscles and bones are for. That's why movement isn't optional. It's essential. Every step you take becomes a message. I still need strength here. Send the calcium this way. And when you begin to combine the right nutrition with the right intention, you don't just reduce your risk of cramps or falls, you begin to rebuild your sense of power. You reclaim your ability to move through the world with assurance. You make choices today that support your freedom tomorrow. So much of aging is seen as a process of letting go, giving up flexibility, energy, ease. But calcium reminds us that there are things we can hold on to, that it's not about accepting decline, but about taking action against it. You don't need to run marathons or climb mountains. You just need to walk steadily, sleep peacefully, and rise from your chair without fear. You just need to believe that your body still responds to care, even after all these years. That belief is where healing begins. It doesn't start with the supplement. It starts with the decision to change, to listen, to act. There's a quiet confidence that comes from waking up in the morning and feeling your legs beneath you not shaking, not stiff, not cramping but grounded, ready, alive. That confidence doesn't come from luck. It comes from consistency, from calcium, from the daily decision to show up for yourself. You have the right to move without pain. You have the right to sleep without fear of interruption. You have the right to strength. Not perfect strength, but strength that feels like yours. And calcium, though humble and often overlooked, is one of the most reliable partners you'll ever have on that journey. Let it help you. Let it hold you steady when the world feels shaky. Let it bring your rhythm back. There's a certain kind of silence inside the body that goes unnoticed until the day it breaks. A strange tingling in the toes. A numbness crawling up the leg. A subtle tremble when standing still, as if your body isn't quite sure where it ends and the ground begins. These quiet disturbances, so easily dismissed, often carry a louder message than pain. And more often than not, what they're trying to say is this: your nerves are starving. What they need is not more rest or more willpower, but something far simpler: vitamin B12. Inside your body, there's an electrical highway, an intricate system of communication that runs from your brain down through your spine, branching into every limb, every muscle fiber. Every step you take, every motion you make, relies on this silent conversation. Your muscles do not act alone. They wait for instruction. And B12, though invisible and small, is one of the most essential nutrients that keeps those instructions clear, quick, and precise. Without enough B12, those messages begin to garble. The signals don't arrive on time. Sometimes they arrive in fragments. Sometimes they arrive distorted. The result is often felt in your legs, those trustworthy pillars you've relied on your whole life. They begin to wobble. Cramps arise without warning. A sense of heaviness lingers, even after rest. And with it, the sensation of pins and needles becomes more than just a momentary discomfort. It becomes a warning. Unlike other deficiencies that announce themselves with fatigue or illness, a lack of B12 tends to wear a mask. It pretends to be aging. It mimics the natural slowing of the body. But the truth is, it's not nature, it's neglect. A quiet, nutritional gap that begins deep in the digestive system and echoes all the way down to your feet. Vitamin B12 is unique in how it's absorbed. Your stomach needs to produce a special protein called intrinsic factor just to extract it from food. As we age, this process becomes less efficient. Acid levels decline. The lining of the gut changes. Long-term use of common medications, like antacids, further blocks absorption. Add to that dietary changesless meat, fewer eggs, or switching to more plant-based eating. And suddenly, the B12 stores in your body begin to dwindle. Not overnight, but slowly, silently. That's why the symptoms often appear gradually. Maybe you've noticed your legs take longer to respond, or that walking feels oddly tiring, even when your muscles seem strong. Perhaps you've caught yourself stumbling slightly more often, or you felt a sudden twitch in your thigh while sitting still. These are not just quirks. These are signals of miscommunication nerves that can't quite get the message across. And without B12, those lines of communication will only continue to fray. I once spoke with a retired teacher who had been feeling an odd tightness in her legs. Not pain, exactly, but a strange sense of disconnection. She told me, "It's like my legs belong to someone else. Like they don't listen when I tell them to move." She had ruled out arthritis. She walked daily. Her blood pressure was fine, but a simple vitamin panel revealed what had been hiding in plain sight: a severe B12 deficiency. With supplements and a few changes in her diet, the sensation began to ease within a month. Her steps became lighter. The feeling of disconnection faded, and in its place came a quiet relief that she wasn't just aging. She had been missing a piece of the puzzle, and now it was back in place. There's something deeply empowering about discovering that a problem you feared might be irreversible actually has a solution, especially when that solution doesn't require surgery or medication, but something as natural as a vitamin your body once made perfect use of. That's what B12 offers: restoration. Not just of physical function, but of confidence, of control. It sharpens the reaction time between brain and muscle. It refines the rhythm of your steps. It helps you stand with stability and move without hesitation. These are gifts that can't be measured in numbers, but in moments when you don't have to think about balance. When your legs simply carry you. If you've ever had a cramp that came with a tingling sensation, or a leg that felt oddly disconnected, those could be the early whispers of B12 deficiency. If you've noticed numbness in your feet or fingers, or reflexes that feel dulled, listen. These are not just signs of age. They are signs of an essential nutrient falling out of reach, and they deserve your attention. Getting enough B12 starts with awareness. Animal products: meat, fish, eggs, dairy are the most reliable sources. For those who avoid these foods or have absorption issues, fortified cereals, nutritional yeast, or B12 supplements become vital. The good news is, B12 is water-soluble. That means your body takes what it needs and discards the rest, making it one of the safest vitamins to supplement. And in some cases, when absorption is compromised, a doctor may recommend injections to bypass the gut altogether. But knowledge alone isn't power, action is. It's easy to dismiss a small twitch, a numb toe, a heavy calf. But those sensations are the body's way of asking for help before the problem becomes bigger. B12 is one of the most preventable deficiencies, and yet it remains one of the most overlooked. Because it doesn't scream, it whispers, and we must learn to listen. The beauty of regaining nerve clarity is that it doesn't just improve how you move, it improves how you feel. When your body responds promptly, when your steps align with your intent, something awakens inside you, a sense of trust, a spark of strength, and the understanding that even now, your body is willing to heal if you're willing to support it. There's no shame in feeling weak. The only shame is in not seeking what might restore your strength. B12 is a quiet ally, a behind-the-scenes player in every movement you make. It doesn't demand attention, but it deserves respect. So if your legs feel unfamiliar, if your steps are unsure, if the muscles work but the messages feel delayed, don't settle for silence. Ask your body what it needs, and if the answer is B12, give it back the clarity it has lost. Because when nerves fire true and muscles respond in kind, you don't just walk, you move with purpose, with confidence, with connection, and sometimes that's all the difference in the world. There's a reason night feels longer when pain interrupts it. When the lights are out and the world is resting, your body should be healing. But for many people, especially as they age, The night becomes a battleground, a moment of calm shattered by the sudden tightening of a calf, a jolt of pain that pulls you out of sleep, and a helpless pause as you wait for the cramp to pass. What most don't realize is that this story, told quietly in millions of bedrooms around the world, often traces back to a single missing mineral: magnesium. Magnesium does not ask for the spotlight. It doesn't advertise its importance with dramatic symptoms, at least not at first. But its absence can be felt in the most personal, physical ways. It is the mineral of release, the element of letting go. Every time your muscles contract, they need permission to relax again. Magnesium grants that permission. It steps in after the work is done and allows your body to rest. When it's missing, your muscles stay tense. They hold on too long. They lock up unexpectedly often at night, when your body is most vulnerable and your awareness is at its lowest. There is a rhythm to rest, and magnesium is the drummer. It keeps the beat steady, calming overactive nerves, allowing your body to shift into a state of ease. But when this rhythm is off, when magnesium stores run low, your muscles don't know how to stop. They twitch, they cramp, they cry out, and sleep, once restorative, becomes scattered, shallow, and strained. For older adults, this isn't just an inconvenience, it's a threat to quality of life. Night after night of interrupted sleep leads to exhaustion, foggy thinking, irritability, and diminished resilience. And while many blame age, stress, or poor circulation, few look closely enough to see what's missing on a cellular level. Magnesium isn't just nice to have, it's essential. And when your body is quietly begging for it, those midnight cramps are often the first cry. I remember a gentleman in his 70s who came to me after trying every home remedy he could find. Bananas, stretching, hydration, none of it worked. His legs still cramped almost every night, to the point where he avoided long car rides and feared going to bed. He had been taking a common diuretic for years to manage his blood pressure, unaware that this medication, while necessary, was gradually draining his body of magnesium. A blood test confirmed it. His levels were low, not dangerously so, but enough to disturb the harmony of his muscle function. After we adjusted his diet and added a daily magnesium glycinate supplement, his nights changed. The cramps stopped. Sleep returned. And so did his sense of peace. It's important to understand that magnesium isn't just involved in muscles, it's everywhere. It's present in every cell of your body. It helps regulate over 300 biochemical reactions, including nerve function, blood sugar balance, and blood pressure. But its most intimate role, the one you feel most directly, is in the muscles that carry you and the rest that restores you. When you walk, magnesium is there, moderating energy transfer and preventing early fatigue. When you lift something, it's there, allowing your muscles to contract with control, then relax without hesitation. And when you sleep, it's there again, soothing the overstimulated nerves that often misfire in the dark. Its absence is subtle at first. A little more tension, a bit more twitching, restless legs that don't seem to settle. But then, the cramps begin. A stabbing pain at 2 a.m., a seizing calf that won't unclench, a deep ache in the arch of your foot that doesn't seem to go away. These aren't just signs of overuse, they're signs of imbalance. And magnesium is often the missing piece. Where it goes is no mystery. Stress consumes it. Medications deplete it. Diets filled with processed food ignore it. And over time, the small daily losses add up until your body runs low, and the warning signs arrive. Unfortunately, by the time the cramps begin, your levels are already past the threshold of comfort. But the body remembers how to heal. The beauty of magnesium is that the response can be swift. Reintroduce it, and the body breathes again. Muscles that once clenched without reason begin to ease. Sleep deepens. Fatigue lightens. And that constant hum of muscular tension starts to quiet. It's not complicated. Magnesium lives in everyday foods: spinach, almonds, pumpkin seeds, black beans, avocados. These simple, nourishing choices hold a profound impact when eaten regularly. But food alone may not always be enough. especially when absorption is compromised or needs are higher than average. That's where mindful supplementation can step in not as a cure-all, but as support. Magnesium citrate or glycinate forms are often gentler on the stomach and more readily absorbed, especially for those who find that their digestion is no longer as efficient as it once was. What matters most, though, is not just the magnesium you take in, but the intention with which you give it to yourself. There is something powerful about saying, "I deserve rest. I deserve to move through the day without my body tightening in protest." Magnesium allows that space to open up not just in your muscles, but in your experience of aging. Because aging does not have to mean shrinking into discomfort. It can mean learning to support the body in more intelligent, more loving ways. Magnesium is not a miracle mineral. It will not undo years of stress or unbalanced eating overnight. But it will partner with your body in the quiet work of repair. And sometimes, that's more important than anything loud or fast. In those silent hours of night, when the body curls into rest, you deserve stillness, not cramping. You deserve peace, not pain. And that peace often begins with the smallest shift, the tiniest spark of awareness that something might be missing, and that something might be as simple as a mineral that got overlooked. If you've ever wondered why your body seems restless at night, why sleep is shallow, why tension lingers long after effort ends, consider magnesium. Not as a last resort, but as a missing link. Reclaim the softness your muscles once knew. Restore the calm your sleep once held. And remember that healing is not just about what you avoid, it's about what you replenish. The body responds to care. Even now, even in your 70s, your 80s, beyond, it listens. And it is always willing to meet you halfway, if you begin. There's a silent current that flows through your body, guiding every movement, every heartbeat, every breath. You don't see it, but you feel it when it's missing. That invisible current is the balance of fluids and electrical signals between your cells, especially inside your muscles. And at the center of this balance stands a mineral that doesn't always get the recognition it deserves: potassium. Potassium is not dramatic. It doesn't scream when it's low. It whispers through fatigue, tremors, and sudden, unexplained muscle cramps. It lives inside your muscle cells, regulating how they hold fluid, how they send signals, how they contract and let go. Without enough of it, the muscle doesn't know when to move or when to rest. Its rhythm is off, its timing uncertain, and suddenly, the simple act of standing, stretching, or walking becomes interrupted by tightness, twitching, or pain. This is not just a problem of athletes or people who overexert themselves. It happens quietly in those who sweat more than they realize, those who take medications that flush out vital minerals, and those whose diets lack the natural, earthy gifts of fruits and vegetables. Potassium is lost easily, and when it slips away, it takes your muscle stability with it. I once met a man who had recently increased his walks to help his heart. He had good intentions, but found himself plagued by cramps halfway through each afternoon stroll. At first, he thought it was just age or sore muscles adjusting. But the cramps got worse, and his legs began to shake after long periods of standing. His blood work showed something subtle but important. His potassium levels were low, likely worsened by the diuretic he'd been prescribed months before. When we adjusted his meals to include potassium-rich food, sweet potatoes, bananas, avocado sand, added a gentle electrolyte drink during his walks, the cramps stopped. He didn't need to slow down. He just needed his body's electricity back in balance. What potassium does inside your body is simple yet profound. It creates the voltage that allows muscles to contract and release in harmony. Every heartbeat, every step, every shift in position relies on this electrical pulse. When potassium is scarce, the charge becomes unstable. Muscles fire at the wrong timure. Not at all. You might feel your legs give out beneath you, or cramp unexpectedly while sleeping. You might feel dizzy after standing, or tremble while walking across a room. These moments of instability can feel small, but they erode confidence, independence, and peace of mind. In older adults, these symptoms are often mistaken for normal aging. But there is nothing normal about waking up with stabbing pain in your calves or feeling your knees buckle halfway through a grocery run. These are not inevitabilities. They are invitations to listen to the body's delicate electrical language and respond with nourishment. Potassium is not hard to find. It lives in the foods the earth gives freely. In a roasted sweet potato, soft and golden. In the creamy green of an avocado. In the bright smile of an orange, or the quiet comfort of a ripe banana. Beans, spinach, coconut water. Even a baked potato with the skin on, all of these carry the charge your muscles crave. They offer not just flavor, but function. Not just calories, but coordination. When you bring potassium into your diet intentionally, something shifts. The spasms quiet down. The legs feel firmer, more cooperative. Your stride steadies. Your hands no longer tremble while holding a cup. And more importantly, your trust in your own movement begins to return. This is the kind of healing that doesn't require drastic change. It asks for presence. It invites attention. If you sweat a lot, or if your medication list includes diuretics, it's even more important to make space for potassium. When the body loses water, it also loses mineral sand. Potassium is one of the first to leave. That's why cramps often follow long days in the heat, or workouts without proper hydration. That's why people on water pills sometimes find themselves waking up at night with legs locked in pain. But there is no need to suffer quietly. Once you understand the role potassium plays not just as a number in a test, but as a partner in movement, you begin to see each food choice as a form of self-respect. Each bite becomes a step toward better balance. Each glass of coconut water a small thank you to your nervous system. I've seen older women who avoided fruit for fear of sugar, only to rediscover the joy of an orange when they realized it helped stop their leg cramps. I've seen men who thought bananas were for bodybuilders, then smiled when they found they could finally sleep through the night without spasms. The body doesn't ask for much, just the right tools to keep the current flowing. Sometimes we forget that inside our muscles, there is energy. Not just strength, but life conducted by minerals, carried by fluids, guided by the gentle precision of potassium. When that energy is out of tune, we feel it in ways that are deeply human: fatigue, pain, hesitation. But when we restore that balance, we reclaim a feeling we thought we had lost. Ease, the kind of ease that lets you walk farther without worrying when your leg might cramp. The kind of ease that allows you to stretch your arms overhead and feel fluid instead of tight. The kind of ease that comes from knowing you are nourished, not just fed. So many answers in life are complicated, but sometimes the body speaks in simple terms. Feed me what I need, it says, and I'll carry you forward. Potassium is one of those needs, often forgotten, but never unnecessary. Quiet, but essentiel. Let it return to your plate. Let it return to your cells. Let it bring back the charge you may not have known was missing. There's a kind of stiffness that creeps in gradually, like rust forming on a hinge. At first, you barely notice it. A little resistance in the knees when standing up, a sense of tightness in the hips after sitting too long. The neck that turns a little slower than before. Over time, what once felt like fluid motion begins to feel more like effort, more like limitation. You may think it's just aging, the natural toll of years lived in motion. But often, something more subtle is happening inside your body. A shift, not of age, but of direction. And that shift leads us to the quiet but powerful role of vitamin K. Vitamin K isn't the first nutrient that comes to mind when we think of leg cramps or muscle pain. It doesn't directly release a seized-up calf or instantly stop a spasm in the middle of the night. But to understand its value, you have to step back, look wider. Because what vitamin K does is direct traffic. It tells calcium where to go, and more importantly, where not to go. In a healthy body, calcium is your friend. It builds bones, strengthens posture, supports muscle contraction. But calcium is only as good as its guide. Without proper guidance, it can wander. It can accumulate where it shouldn't, like in soft tissues, blood vessels, and even within the muscles themselves. And when that happens, stiffness follows. Joints grow less flexible. Circulation slows. Pain lingers after motion. And the foundation of smooth, comfortable movement begins to break down. This is where vitamin K shines not by being the main act, but by playing the role of the wise director. It activates proteins like osteocalcin and matrix GLA protein, which help bind calcium into the bone matrix and prevent it from hardening arteries or collecting where it doesn't belong. It's like handing calcium a mapone that clearly says, go here, not there. When calcium is routed correctly, bones stay strong, and soft tissues stay supple. Joints move more freely. Blood flows more smoothly. And even though vitamin K doesn't stop a muscle cramp the way magnesium might, it helps reduce the deeper causes of why those cramps might occur in the first place. When circulation improves, oxygen and nutrients reach your muscles faster. When joints are less inflamed, movement becomes less painful. When tissues aren't burdened by calcium buildup, they relax more easily. And all of this creates an environment where cramps are less likely to arise, less likely to persist, and less likely to return. There was a woman in her late 60s who came to me complaining not of sharp pain, but of a dull, persistent ache in her knees and calves. She stretched regularly, ate well, and stayed active, yet her legs often felt heavy, as she described them like every step was being pulled downward. Blood work showed no glaring deficiencies, but further discussion revealed that her diet had been low in leafy greens for years, and she'd been on long-term antibiotics that likely disrupted her vitamin K absorption. We made a gentle shift, adding spinach, kale, and a touch of fermented foods like natto into her weekly meals. Over the following months, the heaviness lightened. Her legs moved with more grace. The aching didn't vanish, but it softened. What returned was a kind of mobility that she had quietly mourned and almost forgotten. This is how vitamin K works, not with fireworks, but with precision. It doesn't scream, but it recalibrates. It doesn't perform, but it realigns. And in that realignment, the body finds relief. Vitamin K1, mostly found in dark green vegetables, helps support this calcium-guiding process. But vitamin K2, often found in fermented foods and certain animal products, takes the baton even further, staying in the body longer, traveling beyond the liver to impact bones and blood vessels throughout the system. Together, they form a protective network, subtle, silent, but essential. There's a reason joint stiffness and poor circulation often show up side by side with muscle cramping. They are not always separate issues. A joint that doesn't move freely forces nearby muscles to work harder. Muscles under strain become tense. Blood flow restricted by hardened arteries cannot deliver nutrients as efficiently, and slowly, a system that was once fluid becomes sluggish. Vitamin K helps reverse that drift. It restores direction. In those quiet moments when you feel your legs resisting movement not with sharp pain, but with dull resistance, consider what might be guiding the calcium in your body. Consider whether the flow inside you is moving freely, or if it's being blocked by accumulations that should have never been there in the first place. That's the deeper story vitamin K tells, and it's not just about preventing disease. It's about preserving joy. The joy of a morning walk without stiffness. The joy of standing up without creaking knees. The joy of knowing your legs are ready to carry you wherever the day leads, without hesitation, without complaint. The foods that support this are humble. A handful of cooked collard greens. A small bowl of sautéed spinach. A slice of aged cheese. A spoonful of fermented soybeans. These aren't exotic. They're accessible. They're gifts from the earth that ask only to be included, to be appreciated. And for those who struggle with digestion or take medications that interfere with vitamin K, a supplement introduced mindfully and with your doctor's guidance can be a helpful companion. Vitamin K won't remove every cramp. It won't erase every ache, but it creates the conditions for your body to move more naturally, more comfortably. It's the foundation that makes other nutrients work better. It's the system beneath the system. What makes this all the more powerful is the realization that small changes make big ripples. A daily decision to nourish your body in a more informed way. A willingness to look deeper than the symptom and ask what systems are out of alignment. A reminder that your body doesn't only break down with time, it also rebuilds with intention. You don't have to overhaul everything. You don't need to chase perfection. You simply need to support your body in the places where its wisdom is already trying to work. Vitamin K is that support. Quiet, steady, found in the simplest foods, yet essential to the most complex movements. Let it guide the flow. Let it soften what has grown rigid. Let it open space where stiffness has taken root, and in that space, let movement return. There are moments when your legs feel unusually tired, not the deep fatigue of hard labor, but a kind of strange heaviness. Maybe it comes after a short walk you used to enjoy, or when you're climbing a familiar staircase and suddenly feel like your limbs are moving through molasses. Your legs aren't just tired, they feel uncoordinated, sluggish, strangely disconnected. And then, perhaps without warning, a cramp strikes. Not the violent jolt of sudden trauma, but a creeping stiffness that settles in the calf or thigh and won't quite let go. This quiet, persistent unrest within your muscles is a whisper, sometimes a warning of what your body needs. And in many of these cases, what it's asking for is vitamin B6. Vitamin B6 doesn't shout its importance, but it's involved in nearly every conversation your nervous system has with your body. It serves as a bridge, a translator between the commands of your brain and the obedient responses of your muscles. Without enough B6, these messages become distorted. The instructions become less clear. Muscles receive mixed signals, and in the confusion, coordination falters, reaction slows, and discomfort arises. But the gift of B6 doesn't stop at communication. It also contributes to the creation of red blood cells, the tireless carriers of oxygen. This oxygen is the silent fuel for your muscles. When you move, when you lift, even when you breathe deeply and stretch, your muscles rely on oxygen to contract and relax with ease. When that supply dips, when blood doesn't carry enough oxygen to your muscles, your limbs begin to speak in the only language they know. Tightness, fatigue, cramping. Think of a man in his early 70s. He once hiked local trails every morning. Now he finds himself needing frequent pause, legs aching, calves seizing up mid-step. Not from dehydration, not from overuse, but from a subtle lack of oxygen delivery to the very tissues that used to carry him with strength. We tested his nutrient levels and found his B6 was depleted, in part from years of medications that interfered with absorption. With gentle supplementation and diet adjustments, bananas, poultry, sunflower seeds, he didn't just lose the cramps. He regained confidence in his stride. There's a beauty in this kind of recovery. Not because the change is dramatic, but because it reminds you that your body is always waiting for your support. It doesn't give up on you. Even when tired, even when low on reserves, it continues to speak. And if you learn to listen, really listen, it will tell you what it needs to heal. Vitamin B6 is also one of the most delicate vitamins when it comes to balance. Too little, and communication between the brain and body becomes fragmented. Too much for too long, especially through artificial supplementation, and nerve function can become overly stimulated, leading to numbness or tingling. This balance isn't about fear. It's about respect. It's about giving your body just enough of what it needs, then letting its natural intelligence do the rest. The signs of a B6 deficiency aren't always dramatic. Often, they come in whispers. A leg that feels heavier than it should. A cramp that comes not in motion, but in stillness. A walk that feels like effort despite your heart and lungs doing their part. These are the quiet footprints of a nervous system asking for support. And B6 is the helper that steps in with calm, quiet consistency. It also plays a role in reducing inflammation. Inflammation, especially chronic low-grade inflammation, disrupts blood flow. That means muscles receive less oxygen, less nourishment, and more waste products accumulate. Over time, this sets the stage for tension, pain, and spasms. By supporting healthy circulation and nerve transmission, B6 becomes part of the restoration not just of movement, but of ease. We often look at symptoms in isolation. A cramp here, a twitch there, a feeling of heaviness that's easy to dismiss. But the body doesn't work in fragments. It is a whole. It is a system. And B6 reminds us of that, because its benefits span across neurological health, blood health, muscle performance, and emotional balance. Yes, emotional balance. B6 is essential in the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, the very chemicals that stabilize our mood, support sleep, and keep us connected to joy. A deficiency then doesn't just impact the legs. It touches how we walk through our day mentally, spiritually. It reminds us that nourishment is not only about movement, but about how we feel moving. Let's talk food for a moment. The most natural sources of B6 are humble, familiar, and easily welcomed into most diets. Chickpeas, potatoes, turkey, spinach, fortified cereals, all simple, all effective. For many older adults, digestive changes, medication interactions, and reduced appetite can make it harder to get enough from food alone. In these cases, a gentle supplement, under a physician's guidance, can restore that lost connection between nerve and muscle, between breath and motion. I remember a woman in her late 60s, soft-spoken, gentle. She came to me not with complaints, but with curiosity. Why do my legs feel like they don't want to follow me anymore? She had been walking daily with her granddaughter, but noticed her legs would tire quickly, sometimes cramp after only a short stroll. She had assumed it was aging. But after looking deeper, we discovered she was low in B6, likely from a long-term medication she was prescribed for nerve pain. We made modest adjustments, and within weeks, she described her legs as more alive. She said, "It's like they remember how to be mine again." That's the power of subtle healing, of paying attention, of not waiting for pain to become unbearable before you act. Vitamin B6 offers a reminder. Your body wants to move in harmony, not just free from cramp or fatigue, but with purpose, balance, and presence. It wants your nervous system to transmit clearly. It wants oxygen to reach your muscles fully. And it wants you to feel like walking is not an effort, but a freedom. So if your legs feel heavier than they used to, if a simple stretch leads to an unexpected cramp, if your feet feel a little less coordinated than before, pause and listen. This might be your nervous system whispering that something's missing. And perhaps, just perhaps, what it's asking for is something as simple and powerful as vitamin B6. Sometimes, healing doesn't begin with a grand decision. It begins at the breakfast table. It begins with a simple question. What does my body need today that it didn't get yesterday? When it comes to muscle cramps, those sharp, stubborn reminders that something inside is out of sync, the answer may not lie in a single pill, but in a quiet, consistent shift toward care, toward balance, toward listening. You don't have to become a nutritionist. You don't need a cabinet full of supplements or a perfectly color-coded diet plan. What you need is awareness, a little curiosity, and a willingness to start where you are, with what you have. Maybe that starts with adding spinach to your eggs. Maybe it's reaching for a banana instead of a cookie. Maybe it's asking your doctor to check your vitamin D or B12 levels during your next visit. These are not small things. These are choices that build a foundation. Let's remember the 7 companions we've explored along this journey, nutrients that, in their own quiet ways, guard your muscles against cramps and discomfort. Vitamin D, your partner in calcium absorption. It ensures that your muscles don't twitch in protest due to low calcium levels. It's the sunlight in your bloodstream, and without it, even the strongest bones and nerves lose their rhythm. Calcium, the spark of contraction, the quiet command that tells your muscle fibers when to move and when to rest. Without enough, your body can become hyperactive in the worst way, mistaking fatigue for urgency and triggering cramps when rest is needed. Vitamin B12 guiding the message from brain to muscle, keeping the signal clear, clean, and calm. When it's lacking, the language of movement is garbled, and your muscles may respond with spasms, tingles, or tremors. This is especially true if you feel cramping alongside pins and needles sensations. Magnesium offering the gift of release. After a muscle contracts, magnesium helps it let go. Without it, your muscles may remain tense, especially at night, when your body should be at its most relaxed. If you wake from sleep with tight calves or feet curled in protest, magnesium may be the missing piece. Potassium guarding the delicate electrical charge across your cells, ensuring your muscles don't jump or freeze when they're simply meant to move. It's especially vital if you sweat heavily, take diuretics, or skimp on fruits and vegetables. A simple sweet potato or handful of avocado can go a long way. Vitamin not a direct soldier in the battle against cramps, but a wise commander behind the scenes. It helps calcium find its rightful home in your bones instead of building up where it doesn't belong in soft tissues or joints. By supporting circulation and flexibility, vitamin K adds harmony to your movements. Vitamin B6, the bridge between your nerves and blood. It carries messages, produces red blood cells, and brings oxygen where it's needed most. When your muscles cry out from mild effort, or feel heavy after a walk that should refresh you, the 6th of May be calling to be heard. Now, I know that list can feel long, but here's the truth. You've already started. Just by understanding, by noticing the connection between what you feel in your body and what your body may be asking for, and every small step you take toward nourishment helps your muscles find ease again. Real food will always be your first medicine. An egg yolk holds B12 and D. Leafy greens are dense with magnesium and K. A banana is rich in potassium. Chickpeas offer B6. The sun, when invited gently into your day, offers you vitamin D with a warmth no capsule can replicate. But sometimes, food isn't enough, especially if absorption is impaired by age, medication, or chronic illness. That's when testing becomes your ally, not a sign of weakness, but an act of self-respect. Knowing your levels is like checking the map before a long walk. It doesn't slow you down. It makes the journey smoother. Supplementation, when guided thoughtfully, is not a shortcut, it's support. It gives your body the backup it needs when life has asked too much for too long. But even more powerful than any capsule is the choice to trust your body's messages. The cramp is not just pain, it's feedback. The fatigue is not laziness. It's a call for oxygen, for nutrients, for restoration. Maybe your journey started with a single cramp in the night. Maybe it began after your legs felt strange during a walk. Or maybe you're here simply because someone you love has been suffering in silence. Wherever you are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where change begins. And this isn't just about muscles, it's about movement. The freedom to walk without fear, to sleep without pain, to stretch without hesitation. That freedom matters. It touches how you show up in the world, how you greet your mornings and rest in your evenings. So, what can you start doing today? Maybe you add some kale or collards to your soup. Maybe you refill your water bottle and squeeze in a wedge of lemon. Maybe you call your doctor and say, "I'd like to check my nutrient levels." Maybe you simply choose to walk a few extra steps outside and let the sun kiss your skin for 10 calm minutes. These aren't chores. These are acts of care, of noticing, of reclaiming your health. One quiet choice at a time. And along the way, share your story. Let others know what worked for you. Ask questions. Explore. This isn't a lecture. It's a conversation. I invite you, if you're watching or listening, to leave a comment. Tell me if you've tried adding magnesium-rich foods. Tell me if you noticed fewer cramps after increasing your potassium. Ask what you're still unsure about. This is your space, and every voice matters. Muscle cramps may seem like a small nuisance in the grand scale of life, but they are a signal. And in learning to decode that signal, you unlock a broader truth. Your body wants to heal. It wants to move with ease, and it will reward every bit of care you offer it. Small steps, stronger legs, a more peaceful night's sleep, a more confident morning walk, a body that supports you not just in survival, but in living well. That is the gift you build when you listen, when you nourish, when you begin. You've already taken the first step, and your legs, your nerves, your entire being, they are ready for the next.